YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with more NFL unit rankings today, ranking the linebacker units for the 2021 season. We're going from 32 to 1. Definitely a video you can't skim through. You got to listen to this one because every team is different. Every scheme is different, and some teams will align with 2 linebackers, some with 3. We'll break all of that down, and the players I expect to be out there as starters and as rotation players, and we'll rank it as we go along, of course, as well. We ranked linebackers in general. We ranked all the position groups. We ranked other units, more to come, all kinds of predictions. More NFL content than compared to anyone else out there. So please like, subscribe, join us for all that. Be much appreciated. Check out our Twitter. Link down below. Here's our Twitter. Sneak peeks to videos. Keeping you guys updated on NFL news and channel news and what's to come. So check it out. Link down below. So at the bottom here, surprising to see the Rams maybe for some at the bottom because it's such a good defense. I love the defense. It was my number 1 defense last year. It very well can be this year. But the off-the-ball linebacker group, definitely on the weaker side. So the Rams have been running a 3-4 defense, which features 2 off-the-ball linebackers, 2 inside linebackers. So that's why these are my 2 guys here that are starting. The teams that have 3 listed, we'll get into more of a 4-3 base team. But Micah Kaiser, who got hurt in the second half of the season last year, and they have Reeder as well. They also, a couple years ago, traded for Kenny Young, who was used a bit, but I think these are their main 2 guys inside. It's definitely a spot where they can get better. They are better if Micah Kaiser's out there. Pretty good in run support. The Packers in the playoffs kind of exposed them a little bit on the inside. You know, it's kind of just Aaron Donald holding things up for that interior defense for the most part, and the safety play is pretty solid, but yeah, I expect them to continue to run their 3-4 defense, even though they lost Brandon Staley as their defensive coordinator. He obviously went to the Chargers. It would be shocking if they changed that. So expect 2 starting off-ball linebackers in the inside, and I expect it to be these guys. The Bengals, they changed up their looks, a little bit of a multiple defense. Sometimes it's more of a 3-4 look, sometimes 4-3, so we'll see what they roll with more. I'm not really a fan of switching it up that often. We'll see what they roll with this year. They got some young talent. They got some young, I wish they were more talented, but they got some young, promising players. Jermaine Pratt has a lot of upside. I think he's a pretty versatile player, so I hope the Bengals use him that way. I liked him a lot out of NC State. He can be involved in the blitz, in coverage. Because remember, he was a former safety, so he got the reps that I thought he deserved last year. Still some growing pains, but he can continue to get better. Logan Wilson was a draft pick that everyone was pretty hyped on. I wasn't that hyped on that, but it's a guy that I think will step up this year, could play that inside linebacker role. And they do have Akeem Davis-Gaither, who is. We could see all 3 of those guys start, or I'm thinking we can see Pratt and Wilson at times, on passing downs with Hilton in the slot because they'll use that slot corner quite a bit, and that results in 2 linebackers. So that's why I kind of listed 3 there. Davis-Gaither kind of being that rotation piece, in my opinion. Early downs probably on the field, or maybe obvious running downs, 3 linebackers on the field. The Eagles going to give more of a 4-3 base look, given I have 3 guys listed here. But even the 4-3 teams, they will run 2 linebackers, off-the-ball linebackers a ton because they like to have a slot corner in there, obviously. They added Eric Wilson, who came from Minnesota. He's familiar with that type of scheme. They're going to run a very similar scheme is what the Vikings ran, actually, coming from that Colts tree, which that defense came from the Vikings coaching staff tree as well. So it's a very similar scheme there. So Eric Wilson fits in there. It's a pretty solid signing there, in my opinion. Singleton's likely to be the guy next to him. He got quite a few snaps last year. Doesn't mean a whole lot 'cause it's new staff. TJ Edwards could be used as an inside linebacker. He's kind of your traditional inside guy, in my opinion. So early downs, expect all 3 of those guys on the field with their 4-3 base defense. Passing downs, you'll see Wilson and either Singleton or TJ Edwards in a nickel package, of course. Packers at 29. I do like the Packers adding Devondre Campbell. And the Packers, I expect to continue running their 3-4 defense, which will feature 2 inside linebackers here. I like Devondre Campbell. The Packers were pretty weak at the inside linebacker. They've probably been bottom, dead last in terms of their inside linebacker play over the last, it's been quite a few years. I mean, they had Blake Martinez not too long ago. But adding Campbell was big, and Chris Barnes actually was pretty solid for a young player there. They do have Kamal Martin, who was there's some excitement about where he can get to, but Campbell is by far their best inside linebacker. Barnes he's a promising young talent, but he did struggle at times last year. It seemed like a big problem was missing assignments, not filling the correct gaps, kind of getting fooled by misdirection or almost anything. That seemed to be the problem. So I do like they get better with Devondre Campbell, and they potentially upgraded the defensive coaching staff, which plays a part in that. If guys are out of placement, out of missing assignments, the first person you're probably going to blame is actually the coach. So we'll see if that changes. But adding Campbell's pretty big. They could, if Barnes develops, they could be even better. Not that Devondre Campbell's like this big time linebacker or anything, but it definitely helps them because I do think they were dead last in this category the last couple of years. The Chiefs going to run more of a 4-3 base defense. Spagnuolo came in, they switched to a 4-3, and that's been working pretty well. So early downs, running downs, you'll see these three guys out there, in my opinion. Remember they lost Damian Lewis as well. Or Damian Wilson, who played pretty damn well, I thought, for them with Hitchens, and played extremely well, I thought, in the Super Bowl. Anthony Hitchens I think he's an underrated inside linebacker. Doesn't get mentioned a lot. He's kind of the feature guy. Last year they drafted Willie Gay Jr. Tough for him to get on the field. Wilson obviously out there with Hitchens for the most part because they run a lot of nickel package as well. But they draft Bolton. I liked Bolton a lot of Missouri. High motor guy. I think he'll get more of the reps. I think it'll be more of Hitchens and Bolton with Willie Gay Jr. kind of being that early down guy, rotation guy. Does have coverage skills, so maybe they keep him in there and passing downs as well. The Giants, I do think it's carried a bit by Blake Martinez. He's a very solid inside linebacker. Of course, the Giants running their 3-4 defense, 2 inside linebackers. Y2 are listed here. But yeah, Blake Martinez is very solid, tackling machine, obviously. It's probably going to be Crowder. They do add Reggie Ragland. He has been getting a whole bunch of playing time recently. There was more expectations of him coming in out of college, obviously. Crowder got the load, but Martinez is carrying it. But Giants defense overall was pretty solid. Stopping the run as well there, and these guys played a part. Ravens, Patrick Queen, and I'm expecting Malik Harrison, the rookie from last year from Ohio State, to get more of a role. They do have L.J. Fort, who it could be Queen and Fort. I think it was more of Queen and Fort last year. I'm thinking it's going to be these two guys this year. The Ravens also run a 3-4 defense, so we'll see 2 inside linebackers. They run a pretty unique scheme where they'll blitz their inside linebackers a ton, and they'll actually drop their edge rushers in coverage quite a bit. So Queen's a big-time blitzer. He was a raw prospect. Remember, he was a running back not that long ago coming in LSU. So he's getting better. Harrison, he's kind of your old-school inside linebacker, which I think works in this defense next to Queen, the blitzer, And Queen can do more than blitzing, of course, but that's the guy they use for that role, which is very important. So it's a raw inside linebacker unit. It's pretty young. It's still developing. It's going to be very good, I think. It's just still getting there. But, again, 2 young, solid players, and they do have L.J. Fort as well. The Texans going to be switching schemes, actually. They were running with 3-4 for quite a long time there. They add Lovie Smith, defensive coordinator. He's going to run a base 4-3 defense, but, we'll see a lot of nickel packages in there. When they have the 2 linebackers in there with the nickel package, I believe it'll be Zach. We know it'll be Zach Cunningham and Christian Kirksey. They also have Kevin Pierre-Louis and Grugier Hill. So they're pretty deep, I suppose, but it's Cunningham, who's a fantastic linebacker, really carrying the group. Christian Kirksey, not the same. He also has major injury concern. You see the small trial with the Packers didn't really work out. He was getting hurt, and they were kind of then they were like, forget this. Let's roll with the young guys, Barnes and Martin. So Pierre-Louis, not bad. It could be Cunningham and Pierre-Louis getting the most snaps there. But again, the early downs, we'll see the 3 linebackers on the field, of course. So you could flip Kirksey and Kevin Pierre-Louis as well. That's a possibility there. So we see kind of the different schemes, and hopefully everyone gets an idea. It's not a video you could skim through. You kind of got to listen to my thoughts on these alignments, what players will be out there. Next group of teams, the Panthers. Shaq Thompson, obviously the standout guy. They add Denzel Perryman. I like adding Denzel Perryman. I think that helps them. But he's been kind of on and off the field, struggling to find a specific role. Does he fit this defense? Does he fit that defense? So it's not, it's a solid signing. I think they get better with it, but it's nothing to go too crazy about. So hopefully he fits this. But they do run a base 4-3, but I expect to see them with 2 linebackers out there. They're going to run, an extra corner, or maybe I'd say an extra corner, but depending on, it kind of relies on where Jeremy Chin's at on the field as well. Then you could throw an extra safety if Chin's not lined up back there, and Chin could be roaming around the box area. All those possibilities. I think what makes the Panthers defense and what made it better than expected last year, because it's kind of unique and you don't know what to expect from the defense. But I think we'll see Thompson and Perriman out there. I do think Thompson kind of carries the group a little bit. Perriman pretty solid, had a solid pass, just struggled to get on the field at all times to kind of fit at least what the Chargers were doing. I think the Panthers are confident he could fit what they're doing. The Lions pretty tough. They had that stupid multiple hybrid defense, which really never works unless you're the Patriots going with under Patricia. And they're going to go away from that. It actually sounds like they'll run more of a 3-4, which was a little surprising to me, but looking at the talent they had, especially during the draft, I think that works. So we'll see mainly 2 linebackers out there on the inside. And this is where it becomes tough, because Jamie Collins is kind of that hybrid type. At the end of the day, he's the most talented linebacker on that team, in my opinion, because he's versatile. I mean, he's just very talented. He's going to get you production. He's going to make plays for you. But he is kind of more of that hybrid player. Will it work with your traditional 3-4? Will they like him on the inside? Would they prefer Anzalone and we'll say Jaylani Taive? That's definitely a possibility, a young player there that can continue to get better. So they can go multiple routes here. But Collins is too talented to keep off the field, in my opinion. I think Anzalone is a better player and kind of familiar with some of the coaching staff there than Taive, but Taive is a guy that can continue to improve. They have Reeves Maben out there as well. They got Brooks out there as well. So, they got options. And I'm just curious to see how they use Collins mainly. But he's too talented, I think, to keep off the field. So we'll see what happens there. Cardinals with their very young linebacker group here. In a way, I mean, they're both prospects still to me. They're going to run a 3-4, of course, so they'll have 2 inside guys, and it'll be Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins. They've drafted back-to-back linebackers in the first round. So what's interesting and why they're definitely still prospects, definitely still growing, why there could be growing pains here, is because they are switching their roles a little bit. Simmons was pretty much everything but an inside linebacker at Clemson. So he struggled to get on the field early, but he's just so talented that it eventually works out. And we've seen him starting to get kind of in his groove. So he'll be very solid. And Zaven Collins kind of played an outside, weak side role in Tulsa's interesting, unique scheme, and he had a lot of free roaming abilities. So it is definitely different going to play a true inside linebacker role. They like him at the Mike linebacker position. With Simmons here, it's going to be interesting. I think it's one for the future. It just may take a little bit of some time here. The Browns are actually pretty deep. They just don't have that standout guy, and there's still some question marks. They add Anthony Walker Jr. They get him from the Colts. They add Jeremiah Usu-Koromoa, who I love, from Notre Dame. Very versatile linebacker, can play in the slot as well, can cover receivers, tight ends, whatever you ask him to. Well, at least he did at the college level. And they're going to run a 4-3 base. So who will we see out there, though, with the group of guys there? We could see Sion Takitaki, who was starting to get an increase of snaps last year. I think another versatile guy. I kind of compared him to Anthony Barr when he was coming out of BYU a little bit there, maybe a poor man's. Jacob Phillips, a young LSU linebacker that they used quite a bit last year. Mac Wilson has gotten some solid reps as well. They had Tony Fields as well. They actually, the good is they have a long list of guys that can play. They have depth. There's just no sure thing here. There's still some question marks, but they're heading in the right direction for sure. Saints, tough to rank because Demario Davis really carries this group. I mean, one of the better linebackers in football, kind of a do-it-all guy because he can be, but because he had to be as well. I think they start Werner with him. I think they kind of like him, maybe like an Anzalone type guy. Underrated in coverage, can stop the run. I think they'll pair him with Demario Davis, and they're going to run – they're a base 4-3, but I think we're going to see the two guys a lot because they like using, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in the slot, who's kind of like another safety as well with their duo already. To me, Bond was a pretty solid prospect at Wisconsin, very talented. He just seems like more of a situational guy, more of a rotation guy because he's kind of a hybrid. He is an off-the-ball guy for the Saints, but hybrid, almost could blitz or rush off the edge. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of that. So I'm excited to see that. But, as of now, it does feel like Demario Davis is carrying the group a little bit. This is one I think that it's really going to step up this year, because based off the past, you can't really rank Kenneth Murray and Drew Tranquill this high, even though it's not that high. But I think they're really going to step up. Tranquill's got to stay healthy. That's one thing. We already know he's solid. He's got to stay healthy. But Brandon Staley's scheme, I love the idea of Kenneth Murray and Brandon Staley's scheme. Inside linebacker that is extremely versatile. They can move him around. They can blitz him. They can use him, traditional inside linebacker, filling gaps, stopping and run. Any way they can use him, they can get very creative with him because that's what they did at Oklahoma, where he was really a standout guy. And there's not, I guess recently there's been I think it started with Kenneth Murray, how there's standout guys coming from the Big 12, coming from Oklahoma. So for him to stand out, that it means something. He's got a lot of talent there. So if healthy, I think this group is pretty solid, one to watch out for. The Jets, more of a 4-3 base as well. C.J. Mosley, we'll see if he's healthy. And I like Jared Davis in this scheme. Jared Davis is a first-round pick for a reason. He's been extremely hot and cold with Detroit Lions. There's plays or games where it's like, okay, that's why that guy was a first-round pick. But then it's, for the most part, it was a bit underwhelming. I'll put some blame on Patricia there. Not a surprise. I'm not the first person to blame Patricia for something here, but I think he can be very solid with this linebacker group. So I'm actually excited about that. It's kind of a minor pickup, but I think it could be something there with Jared Davis. And they also have Blake Cashman there out of Minnesota a couple years ago who could be used. We could see all three of those guys at the same time. I think mainly we'll see Mosley and Davis there. And it's actually a sneaky good one there. Washington definitely got a good supporting cast around them. And I think these guys are all underrated. Jamin Davis was an underrated prospect, flashy guy, very good in coverage, a lot of upside as well. Bostic's not a big name, but he's played pretty damn well for Washington, especially in that scheme, kind of a tackling machine. And Cole Holcomb I think he's very versatile. I think you can use him in the blitz a little more often than they did last year, probably than they will. Solid in coverage, pretty rangy. So you'll see the three of these guys on the field early downs. You'll see them on the field quite a bit, actually. We could see Landon Collins kind of playing that box role with Holcomb or whoever it is coming out as well, or a slot corner in there. All of that is possible in the Rivera defense. But it's a pretty balanced group, I think. Davis definitely has some things to prove maybe before we get him hired, but I think he'll play pretty well right away because he's got a good coach, got a good supporting cast there. Next group of teams here. Titans at 16, somebody's got to step up in the Titans linebacker group. I think it could be special. I think it could be a lot better. I do like that it's deep. It's pretty deep, actually. They got Jayon Brown, who I think is their feature guy. He's their guy. He's solid. He got hurt last year. Rashaan Evans, who's still a young, solid player, but a little underwhelming. He's shown the flashes. Or the Patriots playoff game a couple years ago. I thought he was the best player in that game, realistically, there. And we just aren't seeing that consistent enough. I do think he isn't really playing the role he was meant to play. I probably prefer him on a 4-3 team. But he does have the talent in him. But they have David Long, and now they had Monty Rice as well. So they got a pretty deep group. It's just, Jayon Brown's that guy to step up. But Rashaan Evans has got to step up because we know Brown's good. He's got to stay healthy. But Rashaan Evans really has to step up. This group could be a lot better. I was expecting a lot more from them last year. The Broncos, Alexander Johnson, who broke out last season, or not this past season, the season before, of course, the first year with him back. And Josie Jewell there, younger player from Iowa. He's been in the league for a few years now. But they'll run their 3-4 as well, and they'll run 2 inside linebackers. It's tough to know what to expect. Jewell kind of stepped up last year. Johnson, I thought, played a little better 2 years ago than last year, but still solid. And they add Browning, who I like, a pretty versatile player there. So how much will he play? Will he take some of these reps? I think he's got a bit of ways to go to kind of find his role because he kind of moved all over the place for Ohio State. But it's a solid duo here. Raiders at 14. Yeah, they'll run a base 4-3, but they'll get unique. They might have an extra pass rusher in Gus Bradley's scheme out there sometimes. Rather than in the typical nickel, or they'll have a nickel corner out there. So it's really going to be Corey Littleton and Nick Witkowski out there, which is a pretty solid duo. Littleton didn't look as good as he was on the Rams, but let's give him time here. Still very solid, and they do have Morrow. If they do want to early downs, they want to run the 3 linebackers. I'd watch out for Divine Diablo too, the safety from Virginia Tech, but they're going to use him kind of in that rover / robber, whatever terminology you like in that cover 3 scheme there of Gus Bradley. So he kind of could be that box player where it's like, yeah, he kind of got that safety feel, but he's really playing more of a linebacker role. So, yeah, we'll watch out for that guy as well in the future. The Colts are next. The Colts are a tough one to rank because, they have Darius Leonard, a top-tier, potentially elite talent at the linebacker position. And Bobby Okereke is a promising young talent. He's getting better. He's pretty solid. The problem here is in their 4-3 base, they had Anthony Walker Jr. last year, who actually played the second most snaps after Darius Leonard. Okereke not far behind. I know their confidence in Okereke is fantastic, and that's what led to, kind of him being that guy. But there was actually a ton of snaps between the 3 linebackers. So them being on a little weaker side with their third linebacker, even though they're very good in a nickel package, that's a little tough. I think they're going to go more nickel this year, perhaps, because, it was interesting to see that many snaps were given out to 3 top linebackers, and Walker was number 2 there. Zaire Franklin could be that third guy. EJ Speed, raw prospect, couple years small school prospect. Does he step up? Who steps up here? Do they, play around with their safeties? They use an extra safety perhaps because they did draft. I like Sean Davis. They could use him a little bit more. So it'd be interesting. I do like their duo there. Leonard maybe carrying a little bit, but the fact of how much they use the 3 linebackers, it's a tough team to rank here, but I still get them at 13. Leonard definitely helps that a lot. Next group here, the Dolphins, very solid here. Jerome Baker, Benardrick McKinney, and Landon Roberts. They did add Duke Riley as well, who is probably the better linebacker for the Eagles, but the Eagles arguably the worst linebacker unit in football, so they could go that route. I think we're mainly going to see nickel packages out here. I think we're going to see Jerome Baker and Benardrick McKinney a lot of the time, just the duo out there. So that's a pretty strong duo. Baker's still getting better. I thought he showed more versatility last year in Flores' scheme. I think he needed to. I thought he was the key of kind of spying quarterbacks or anything in the backfield and kind of getting down range, making plays. McKinney's a pretty sound inside linebacker, going to stop the run at a pretty high level. The Jags at 11. Interesting team as well because I like this group of 3 here. It's a new coaching staff. They haven't really told us firmly what they're going to do. I want them to run a 4-3 defense. Honestly, it's tough because looking at their off-ball linebackers, I want them to run a 4-3, but looking at Josh Allen and Clavon Chason, I want them to run a 3-4. So it's pretty tough. There's been some talk about a multiple/hybrid defense, which really never works unless you're Bill Belichick. So a little worried about that. But I like this group on paper. But how will it play? The reason maybe why it won't live up to what it is on paper is because of the scheme. So it might not be the players. Fault there. So Miles Jack's a very talented ball player there. He was better when he was playing outside than when the times because the Jags went back and forth like crazy. The better outside than when he's playing inside. So I do like him more of an outside linebacker. Schobert, very solid. I think he can play inside or out. And then Damian Wilson from the Chiefs. Honestly, I wouldn't be, I want to see all 3 of these guys in the field at once. I honestly could argue at times that Wilson's better than Schobert. So it could be Jack and Wilson kind of being the big guys here. It's intriguing. I just can't wait to see how it actually works on the field because on paper, it looks pretty good. Steelers, it was really tough not listing Vince Williams, and I very well could have. It's definitely debatable. They run a 3-4 defense, so we're featuring 2 inside linebackers here. Devin Bush got hurt last year, which led to Robert Spillane kind of being something because not a big name at all before, and he was playing pretty well. I'm thinking it could be Bush and Spillane there because I think it's tough because when Spillane, when the Steelers recognize, okay, this guy can play, every week Spillane's snap count went up. Vince Williams' snap count went down, not drastically, but it did. And Vince Williams is a leader for this team of captains, so it is tough not listing him, but I think these 2 inside linebackers will be the guys. But again, keep in mind, it could be Devin Bush and Vince Williams. They drafted Buddy Johnson, who feels like a Mike Tomlin type inside linebacker as well, so could we see him? Remember last year they acquired Avery Williamson, and it was all of a sudden end up him and Spillane got hurt. So, and we'll see how he is after the injury as well. But these could be the 2 guys here, and hopefully Bush is healthy as well. So health, I guess, is I don't know if it's really a concern. I'm not really thinking these guys are going to get hurt. It's just hopefully they stay healthy. Seahawks, mainly focusing on Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks here. They do have Cody Barton. Remember, they had KJ Wright last year. The Seahawks run more of like a Leo defense, which is realistically more like a 4-3. They just kind of have an edge rusher that is more like a 3-4 guy playing in a 4-3 edge. It's pretty much what it is. And I don't think we're going to see Barton on the field a whole bunch, even though Wagner got an insane amount of snaps. I don't really need to tell anybody that. Everyone knows. And then KJ Wright got a good amount of snaps, and Brooks got a good amount of snaps. I think they'll switch it up a little bit where 3 linebackers don't get a crazy amount of snaps. I think it's mainly going to be Wagner and Brooks. I think we'll see nickel. I think we're going to see them get creative. Or they'll get an extra edge rusher out there. They're going to get creative with Jamal Adams, of course. So I think it'll be Wagner and Brooks mainly. Wagner's a top tier inside linebacker. Brooks was a first round prospect. I loved his tape out of Texas Tech. It's rare for me to like anybody defensively out of Texas Tech. Rare for anybody really. But I like this tape. I guess the downside is, it felt like what his role at why we liked him was kind of a Bobby Wagner role. So it is interesting having both of them, but Brooks is going to be a solid young player for them. It's maybe Wagner carrying a little bit, but I do like the idea of Wagner and Jordan Brooks. I do think Brooks will step up this year with more of a raise in snaps. Next group of guys here, the Falcons love this duo right here. A little bit of perhaps a different scheme, more of a 3-4 look. I think they're going to blitz their linebackers a little more. So who's going to get that role? Who's going to be getting an increase in blitz reps here for Deion Jones and Foyalu here? Very productive inside linebackers, very solid. I think an underrated group, even though Deion Jones is a pretty big name. They also have Michael Walker, who actually was a sleeper of mine out of Fresno State, so I think they get kind of creative with him on some downs. But they have been running more of a base 4-3, so you may say, why are 3 guys listed here? They had Dean Pease, who's kind of ran more of a 3-4 with some blitz packages in the past, so I listed the 2 here because I think these will be the 2 starters. We'll see. The Bears, we know, run a 3-4 defense. Roquan Smith, a rising stud there out of Georgia a few years ago, really stepped up last year, really improving his ability to cover for sure. Danny Trevathan, I thought took a step down. He had a gruesome injury a couple years ago, so that could play a part. But I thought he took a step down last year. If he kind of goes back to playing Danny Trevathan ball, this potentially could be top 3 for sure in terms of the linebacker group here, linebacker duo. So it's a very solid duo. I guess if Trevathan is declining a little bit, Roquan Smith, he's improving, obviously, so that helps for sure. So it's a very solid linebacker duo in their 3-4 defense. Patriots looks more like a 3-4 defense, but it's a multiple hybrid defense. Bill Belichick special. It's worked for really only them. It's because they're able to pull these players that are being as versatile as they are, as talented and instinctive as they are at the same time, which is extremely rare. They're able to get these players or develop these types of players in that form. Dante Hightower's back, a fantastic instinctive linebacker on the inside there. And then Van Noy, they got him back as well, who's a little bit of a hybrid guy. He roams around a bit. He can be a pass rusher 1 second. He can be off the ball. I think we'll see him more as an off-the-ball guy, even though we've seen him with some pretty good pass rush productivity in a Belichick scheme on the Patriots before. But the reason I say that is because they added your more traditional pass rushers. They already had Winovich. They added Judon. What are they doing with Uche? He's kind of a hybrid. Please, another poor man's Van Noy. So they have those types of players. So I think these will be your main off-the-ball linebackers. They do have Bentley as well. They're pretty deep. They're pretty deep as well. They can go many different looks here. But these are your main 2 guys as your off-ball linebackers here. The Cowboys, I almost want to put the Cowboys higher because how they look on paper. And they add Dan Quinn. That definitely helps. You see what he did with the Falcons linebackers there. And he's just focusing on the defense. And they're deep with big-name guys on paper. But I had to calm down. I almost wanted to put them towards the top here. I mean, top 5 towards the top. But I had to calm down a little bit, back off a little bit, because these guys got to play like the guys they are on paper. They have to do that first. Jalen Smith was looking like he's on his way to being an elite linebacker, and he struggled last year, but he did have to carry. He was asked of a lot, too, at the same time. But he struggled. I don't think he'll struggle again. I'm not saying he'll get back playing like a potential, not elite, but a potential elite linebacker. But, I don't think he's going to struggle as much as he did last year. It's a very solid linebacker here. They had Micah Parsons, who needs to be on the field at every down. And he might not be an off-ball linebacker on every down. There might be times where they, they line him off the edge, and he's just that talented. They'll use him on the edge. They'll use him on the inside, the outs, weak side. They'll do everything with him. Leighton Vander Esch, he had a surprisingly great rookie season a couple years ago. I think that's mainly because he stayed healthy, and he played when he was healthy. He struggled quite a bit, maybe because he wasn't really healthy. They also added Keanu Neal, who's a safety, but they were talking about using him more like a weak side, but Parsons has kind of got weak side written all over him. We'll see. They're going to shuffle these guys around. There's some talent here, though. There's some talent. I think it's a team, and they do have a slot corner in Jordan Lewis, who they paid a bit. So that you may want to say, yeah, they're going to run a bit of nickel, but I don't know. With these linebackers that they got, they might run three of them out there at a time more than your typical 4-3 team, and obviously more than 3-4 team. So it's interesting, but they got to play up to what they look like on paper, because it looks like it could be special on paper. And we're on the top 4 here. The 49ers coming in at 4, possibly the best overall linebacker. And I did linebacker rankings, just solo linebackers, but possibly the best in football. And Fred Warner, just today's linebacker, so athletic, so rangy, dominant in coverage, absolutely dominant, and very good stopping to run. Looks like he's getting better stopping to run. Looks like he's getting better understanding plays, and that's really not surprising. And Dre Greenlaw has worked out pretty well for them as well, kind of took over that Quan Alexander role, who's a pretty talented player. So you're going to see mainly 2 for the Niners there. That's why they had Quan Alexander and Greenlaw, and you see Greenlaw's reps going up, and Quan Alexander, he also was hurt, but crashing, and you're like, why can't they use all 3? It's because it's the way they like to run things. A lot of teams do. They do add Samson Abukum, who's kind of a hybrid guy. Like, he kind of can be that D Ford guy who they use as kind of a hybrid guy, but it almost feels like an edge rusher first, rightfully so. But I think it kind of could be both. Remember, they did drop Ford in coverage. They still have Ford, but they're worried about his health. He would kind of drop from the edge back to the middle of the field a ton. It was a very unique defense. And they would rush Bosa and Armstead off the edge, of course. So Abukum could be that guy. They also have they have Shire as well. So, but it's mainly going to be Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw. It's a damn good duo there. The Vikings next, another team. They run an insane amount of nickel packages. So it's a 4-3 base, but it's really going to be the 2 linebackers, Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr, kind of a high-profile linebacker duo for some time now. Eric Kendricks being one of the best linebackers in football. Anthony Barr, if healthy, is obviously very talented, very versatile as well. They add Nick Vigil, which actually kind of helps your loss of Eric Wilson for that third guy. They also add Chaz Surratt, who could be that third guy. They have Troy Dye as well, some young players. I think Surratt's a little raw prospect. I think Vigil could be out there. But again, this is kind of like the 49ers. It's a team that's going to run 2 linebackers quite a bit. It's a damn good duo. The Bills, they'll run nickel package quite a bit. Taron Johnson comes in, plays the slot. So you'll see Edmonds and Milano, but A.J. Klein looked damn good, I thought, last year for the Bills. When he filled in for Milano, I give away a defensive player of the week, offensive player of the week. The fans do that every single week. I remember Klein was up there for me and giving it to him one week because he was playing out of his mind, and we knew he was a solid linebacker. But so I think they got a really good trio here. But we will see Edmonds and Milano, who is a damn dominant duo there on the field for the most part. Both getting better. Edmonds was a raw prospect out of Virginia Tech, a top-tier prospect, so he's actually going to continue to get a lot better. Matt Milano wasn't supposed to be what he is already, so he's getting better. So that's no-brainer number 2 there. And no-brainer number 1 is the Bucks duo, the best inside linebacker duo in football, absolutely dominant all the way through, especially in the playoffs, Super Bowl. Devin White, Levante David will run the inside linebacker roles in their 3-4, of course. Levante David has been known as one of the better linebackers in football. He used to play a 4-3 role before, so he's scheme versatile as well, but doesn't really need to be at this point, but can cover, can stop the run. It was just a matter of staying healthy, which he has the last few years. And then Devin White, he was a freak of a prospect. We knew that, top-tier prospect, drafted that high for a reason. So it really shouldn't be a surprise where he all of a sudden got to second half of last year, Super Bowl, out of his mind, kind of getting his coverage down where we expect him to be, and being, just so rangy, just making big time plays in the backfield as well. So I thought it was I think 1 and 2 is kind of just a no-brainer. Like, that is the number 1 linebacker. That is the number 2 linebacker unit. So, you guys can let me know your thoughts. really enjoyed this one because every team is different. Just trying to see, it's almost a predictions in a way. We don't know what every single team will run scheme-wise because there was some coaching changes. There's always changes every year. Even when teams don't have coaching changes, they change some things up sometimes. So more unit rankings on the channel, more on the way. Player rankings. Again, we ranked all the linebackers, all of that. So check it out. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on while you're at it. Be much appreciated. Make sure you follow that Twitter. Link in the description comments for all of that. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.